Spark Books here. Today, I'm going to explain the book, Objections, by Blount. Take care, enjoy the book, and have a nice day. Objections, 2019, explores the secrets behind turning around common sales objections. Drawing on insights from both the business world and psychology, it shows how you can transform even the most reluctant prospect into an eager buyer. Key idea number 1, arguing with prospects only frustrates. If you're a salesperson, you may have enjoyed the thrill of working with a prospective customer over time, giving them multiple presentations on the merits of your product or service, and resolving any concerns. Unfortunately, you may have experienced this. A prospective customer tells you they need more time to think it over right before signing on the dotted line. Such situations are exasperating. You haven't closed the sale, and the prospect's imprecise justification doesn't explain their late hesitancy. As a salesperson, you want potential customers to be detailed and honest about their worries. You can fix the issue and close the sale if they notify you. If not, take a big breath, ponder before you act, and figure out why your potential buyer is undecided. First, your prospect has a totally different perspective. They've probably had pushy salespeople argue, prove them incorrect, and encourage them to buy. Given these experiences, the only way they can avoid feeling forced or harassed by you is to keep their reasoning obscure so you can't take them apart and argue with them. Salespeople's belief that you shouldn't take no for an answer has caused distrust. Many salesmen use this tenacious mentality to argue with hesitant prospects until they buy. However, arguing with potential clients is unproductive. Psychological study shows that telling individuals they're incorrect makes them more likely to defend themselves. Psychological reactance endures even when strong data contradicts a belief, according to studies. The more you convince your prospect that their doubts are unfounded, the more they'll say so. Fortunately, you can address your prospect's worries without fighting. Next, Sparks will cover it. Key idea number 2, understanding your prospect and writing a cliché-free screenplay can overcome obstacles. Knocking on a door or calling unsolicited is frequently the hardest part of selling. Prospective consumers generally say they're busy and discontinue the conversation. How can you turn prospecting objections into meaningful conversations that could lead to a sale? First, don't get discouraged by the variety of no's you'll get while cold calling or visiting. Sales teams who contact the author report hearing nearly endless reasons for people's initial hesitation to engage. But rarely is this true. When these teams investigate prospects' reasons for not engaging, they find that many are the same challenges presented differently. I'm happy typically means your competition is serving us well. Actually, prospects reject your advances for a few reasons. Each business has its own prospecting obstacles, 80% of which are the same 3 to 5 reasons for saying no. Before you call, you may anticipate and prepare for the most typical prospecting objections. Pre-scripting replies is best. If your industry's most common prospecting objection is "we're already happy with our current provider," you know how to respond. Avoid sales cliches in your response and writing. Try to surprise your prospect. If they're satisfied with their supplier, don't say "you'd be happier with us." Instead, remark, "If you're satisfied, don't switch to my company. I can offer you a quote to compare." This disrupts prospects' expectations and behavior. Instead of just saying no, they'll talk to you. Key idea number 3, unhandled red herring objections might disrupt your sales meeting. You must be prepared and keep the conversation focused while talking to a potential customer. Derek, a salesman, gave the author a software demo. Before the demo, the author asked Derek, "How much does this program cost? It feels too pricey for me." Meeting collapsed in minutes. Derek was stumped by a red herring objection. A red herring complaint from a potential consumer distracts you from your goals. "Why is your company's reputation so poor?" Or "I'm also talking to your competitors" are red herring objections. Derek wanted to wow the author with a superb presentation in this encounter. He switched to price to address the author's red herring. Derek became defensive and unconfident when forced to discuss expenses out of context, prompting the author to ask more price-related queries. To handle red herring objections, use the tried and true PAIS method. Let's imagine Derek's terrible author encounter if he had employed PAIS. Derek would have pondered before responding to the author's pricing question. He would have said "I hear you" and written down the author's criticism. He would have politely disregarded it and distracted the author by asking a random question before continuing the demo. This may seem hazardous, but prospects rarely raise red herring concerns again after acknowledging them. If Derek thought this was a crucial problem, he could have deferred it for later in the sales process and addressed it when the author was sold on his product or service. Key idea number 4, without a plan, a sales conversation will halt. The author commonly hears this prospect seem genuinely interested from underperforming salespeople regarding their pipeline of prospective customers. "She'll call me about future steps when she gets time." Though nice, comments like this annoy the author. Why? Because they show the salesperson's inability to get prospects' micro-commitments. A salesperson and her prospect agree on a micro-commitment before ending their conversation. You might convince the prospect to show you your company's facilities at the end of the initial sales call. Micro-commitments are crucial because your prospect may forget them after you leave. Thus, you cannot rely on her to contact you. Instead, you and her must agree on a concrete action to do following the conversation and a date to discuss it. Micro-commitment objections occur when prospects reject your next move. The prospect frequently objects because they don't see the benefit of agreeing. She may explain that she's given you all the information you need to quote her, therefore she doesn't see the sense in showing you her company's facilities. Demonstrating your proposal's worth can overcome micro-commitment obstacles. For instance, a facilities visit would help you understand her company's operations, allowing you to provide a custom quote. Finally, ask for the micro-commitment again after proving its usefulness. So can we lock down that facilities tour for next Wednesday at 2 p.m? Concludes your value explanation. If you don't, and your prospect leaves the session with a vague promise to let you know when you can take that tour, you'll be in the same scenario as the hapless salesmen who wait for their prospects to call them about next steps. Key idea number 5. A 5-step strategy overcomes buying objections. After you and your prospect have made micro-commitments, the final stage is your prospect buying from you and giving over his money. This final stage is crucial for you and your buyer, so handle last-minute buying objections properly. Fortunately, a 5-step approach helps overcome late objections. Say your prospect says he has to chat to his boss before signing your contract. Before addressing his objection, relate to it. Absolutely, everyone concerned in this choice must be on board, you could say. This shows him you understand his needs. Next, address his purchase objection. Make sure you're addressing the proper issue. Prospects often raise objections that don't solve their problem. Is there anything else holding you back except speaking with your boss? After this open-ended question, your prospect may ask another, more significant question. He may reveal that quitting his old provider has hidden expenses. Minimizing his objection can solve his real issue. Refocusing on the pain and issues he'll face if he doesn't sign the deal today can reduce his hesitation. I know you need to have this up and running by the beginning of April, you could say, if you know he has a tight delivery schedule. If we don't close today, your staff will have more work. After minimizing his difficulties, re-ask for the agreement. Some buying objections are insurmountable. That's when a fallback position, changing your goal, is preferable. Instead of concluding the purchase, ask for a product trial. You can retry the deal later. Key idea number 6. Many sellers fear rejection and don't ask. Salespeople's biggest obstacle isn't what you assume. It's not a shortage of killer one-liners or objection handling skills. Salespeople struggle to ask for what they want. Sales involves soliciting prospects for time, information, or money. You're requesting a prospect's time when you cold call. Unfortunately, many salespeople are scared to ask for what they want, even if sales success depends on it. They shy away from asking, thinking the customer will give in. The reluctant salesperson says weak things like, "So I'm available if you'd like to meet," and then wonders why no one wants to meet with him. Why can't they ask? Rejection phobia. Asking directly for what we desire risks rejection. We risk rejection by not knowing her response. Risk, uncertainty, and exposure create a strong sensation of vulnerability, which individuals naturally desire to avoid. However, effective salespeople must expose themselves to vulnerability and rejection hundreds of times a day. After a salesman impressed him, the author bought new software for his company. After the demo, the author said yes to the salesman. Guess what? The salesman called the author over 70 times in 5 months to convince him to witness the demonstration. The author had rejected him 3 times before. To get to yes, you must be willing to hear no. Key idea number 7. You must overcome rejection and many no's to win big. Objections and rejection are part of sales, no matter how good you are. When you feel like you're drowning in no, remember that some of the world's most successful people suffered a lot of rejection before getting their yes. Stephen's short writings and novels were rejected hundreds of times. He was broke, married, and supporting 2 children in a trailer. Stephen's wife visited his school in 1973. She held a publisher's telegram requesting his novel Carrie. That man was Stephen King, today one of the wealthiest and most accomplished novelists. Need inspiration? Then consider Harlan Sanders, an entrepreneur who lived in his automobile while traveling the US in the late 1950s looking for restaurants to license his distinctive fried chicken recipe. Colonel Sanders, the face of Kentucky Fried Chicken, is Harlan Sanders. He heard no over 1,000 times on the road, but it didn't hurt him. These success tales show that if you can overcome your fear of rejection and prepare for a no, you can win big in life and sales. Too many people are reluctant to try when others reject them. They settle for mediocre lives, always wondering what they could have had if they had the confidence to push past no and close a significant deal. Avoid this by not letting rejection or objections stop you. Like Colonel Sanders and Stephen King, you must use rejections as incentive to improve. Some may say you're not good enough and should quit. Ignore them. Keep continuing, collecting no's, and looking for yeses. Convincing a hesitant buyer might be appealing. Unfortunately, being confrontational pushes them away. Instead, anticipate buyer objections. Encourage prospects to make minor commitments at each sales step, and discreetly minimize their fears. Remember that even successful people experience rejection. Don't be discouraged if you can't convert every no. Strive. To view more content like this, subscribe. Don't forget to like and turn on notifications. The channel really benefits from it. I appreciate you being here.